Okay, we're going to start today off with a little bit of charting, a little bit of a house cleaning of our trading view chart of Ethereum. We're going to redraw our support and resistance lines, on the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the daily, 30-minute, 12, and maybe 3 minutes as well. And then we're going to look for some setups, if we can find them, that might be playing out today. We can keep an eye on them while we're working. Okay, now we're going to look for some imbalances. I'm going to name my support and resistance folder, including the date that I performed the analysis. So it would be and I will say, when I draw imbalances, if they've already been partially filled, I won't include that portion of the imbalance. So we can see the imbalance actually for this candlestick continues all the way down here, but if we move to the right, we can see that this portion's already been filled, so it's not really of interest to me. So when I'm looking at this, and I see this consolidation area here also lines up with, I suppose, what would be an order block or a breaker block, or whatever you want to call it, that co-occurs with these two breaks of structure on the 12-minute time frame. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a block here, because that's clearly an area that price is interested in. At least on the time frame we're looking at. Or the toggle the candlesticks off after you've drawn your approximation of price action, you can start to see some very clear some clear structures. Now, of course, we're not sure what they mean, but they are very beautiful to look at. And I'll tell you what, if I draw a fixed ranged volume profile from here to here, we can really probably see something interesting. Yeah, what I'm really looking for is this line here. That is really the center of gravity, where price has been, revolving around for the last 2 days and 20 hours. This is what I guess you would call the fair value range for the time frame that we're looking at. And I wonder if we change how many bars are displayed, whether that can give us perhaps more actionable areas, some blocks. So we'll change the row size down, cut in half, let's say 45, see what that does. Okay, getting better, getting better. 20. Okay, now that gives us a clear block as opposed to a line. We don't like lines. We like rectangles. And the great thing about the why do I always forget its name? Fixed range volume profile is that it can actually fairly accurately draw you a range with the highs and lows of the range, and then you know, the things above it would be the deviations and whatnot. But yeah, if we look at just the levels that it gave us, you know, without me really doing too much, we can see that it does create this very nice range. Maybe a little bit more generous on the upside than I would have placed it. And that gives new meaning to this consolidation that we saw over this long period, is if we actually look at it as price playing around with the EQ line of the range, you know, up and down and all around it, before finally making its way to the top of the range, you know, creating a deviation after it comes down and, you know, touches that EQ line. Does so again, and I will say this is a classic example of a divergence, because here we see momentum decreasing, but at the same time we see price increasing, and this tells us that this is sort of unsustainable, because you can't be losing momentum indefinitely and still have price, you know, continuing to increase. So price may be becoming exhausted as it approaches the top of the fair value area, or the range, or whatever you want to call it. We did just have this deviation up here from the range, which could have been perhaps the last hurrah of price, you know, for a little while, and then we would be looking at a just want to point out how unusual this this area is here on Market Cipher on the momentum, compared to, you know, the regular islands that we see. This one has some complex geometry, so that tells me something interesting is happening. The indicator itself generating some sell signals, but we don't really trust those. So if we roughly draw out the wave cycle of momentum, you know, we can see a bit more clearly of what we expect momentum to do in the future. So let me toggle off the momentum waves just so we can look at it more clearly, and we'll turn off buy and sell signals too, because that is noise. You can see moving down, oops, moving down, moving up, so on and so forth. And this actually corresponds quite well with what we see money flow doing, is when we see momentum decreasing, we can see that money flow also turns red. So in these areas, and then right when we see momentum sort of changing directions, we can see that is also when the money flow, begins flipping between positive and negative. So what I'm looking for right now is for momentum to start decreasing. We keep drawing our arrows, decreasing here, decreasing here, starting to change direction. Now we're increasing, but what goes up must come down. We have this bearish divergence. So I see money flow turning negative, probably if we just measure out how long these phases usually take. It could be 1 day, this one was 1 day. About another day. Yeah, so I'd say, every day or so, you see this momentum shift. I lost my music. The music stops, my brain stops functioning. And so if we kind of predict this a bit further, we can say, okay, about the daily mark, we should see momentum, momentum and money flow turning red, which is kind of sad because it doesn't really give me anything to do for the next. Let me put a vertical bar here. Vertical lines, they're not as popular as horizontal lines, but they should be. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna zoom in on this area here. So let me draw a box so when I zoom in, it's more. Yeah, I'm looking, looks like a pretty good opportunity for a short. If we consider this to be a swing failure. Yeah, I've seen enough to make me think that I wouldn't be taking an unnecessary risk. So let's place a limit order for. Okay, we won't be heroes. We'll just do 1 risk, 1 reward. Perhaps a take profit. In this yellow area we highlighted with the fixed range volume profile, it told us. And if we throw up our support and resistance lines, that also lines up with a good 12-minute support. We are bouncing off a 12-minute support right now. Of course, we were rejected off that 4-hour support, which is what caused our, our swing failure. We might have missed the boat on this one. But we can see price bouncing off the 200 EMA, even though it does penetrate it with the wicks, just doesn't close above it. We might be doing the same thing here. Of course, it won't hold forever. It does seem to be quite a reliable indication. All right, we're getting pretty distracted here, but it's very interesting. So let's return to our trade. If I can figure out how to turn the candlesticks back on. So the trade that we entered, and we did enter it because price did return to this level here, is going pretty well so far. Right now we are kind of at the equilibrium zone of the range. So if we manage to make it through that, I see a very clear move down to the bottom of the range. You know, we have this this divergence we identified previously of momentum really decreasing. And what I figured out how to do is how to change the I guess the way that Market Cipher displays. So rather than displaying the 3-minute momentum waves, I wanted it to display what it shows me on the 12-minute. And it's not that hard to do once you figure out what these things mean. So basically, this controls the periodicity, or whatever you want to call it, of how far back the indicator looks when it's gathering its data. And the default values for these are 9 and 12. You know, and that's fine. It's giving me all this crazy whipsaw action all over the place. I don't like it. I'm confused, getting nauseous just looking at it. But the 12-minute was very clean. I like that. So once we figured out what these were, we just figured, hey, what's 9 times 4? It'd be 36, right? And it's 12 times 4, it's 48. And then we have, you know, what we were looking at on the 12-minute. Of course, now when I go to the 12-minute, it'll actually be what we're looking at on the 48-minute. Even though we never look at the 48-minute, perhaps we should. I don't know. Yeah, I'm hoping we're not gonna, you know, bounce off of this EQ area all the way back up to the top of the range. Well, I could take partial profit. It's probably too late now. Shoot. So, you know, we got this liquidity waiting here, and every time we form a higher low on the way up, it's a liquidity area. So we had 3 liquidity areas that I saw. See if I can find the brush. Where are you, brush? There you are, brush. So we have 1, 2, 3. And it looks like we were kind of in the process of absorbing that one. But we're still, you know, we're still looking at this one, and we're still looking at this one. So it'd be really great if we could see, you know, whoosh down here. And I don't think that would be, you know, unreasonable looking at the momentum. And if I turn the money flow back on, I think, and we'll change the money flow periodicity to show the 12-minute as well. Yep, so if we, you know, we do the same thing, we multiply the values that it's using to calculate by 4, we can see what it looks like on the 12-minute. And we see money flow is crossing into the red, corresponding with the momentum decreasing. What I was doing earlier, even though when you watch the video it'll be playing at a very high speed, was just looking at these interesting formations where, rather than just having, make sure my face isn't in the way, you know, these clean blobs on each side, you know, blob, blob, blob. It's when we have these complex shapes, and what that actually translates to in the price. And if we saw one of these shapes playing out, you know, price or momentum not returning to the 0 line, how we could use that to perhaps predict some kind of major move, because they do seem to correspond to these very large movements in price. So it could be sort of a pattern recognition thing. But at this point, it's neither here nor there. We're just having fun. Should have taken partial profit. Damn EQ line. Gets you every time. All right. It looks like we were in fact stopped out. And I just checked my laptop. So let's see if we can find that little skull and crossbones. For a 1.2% loss, or in dollar terms, $2. So, if I look at what I could have done differently, because honestly, I really like this this divergence in price, as well as in momentum and money flow, is I should have taken some profit here, and I should have risk-freed the position by moving the stop loss probably to about this level. It can stop popping up. I don't want to see you. Yeah, right about here. Yeah, somewhere about here, because when price was returning to that level, at that point, we could probably have foreseen that there would have been another upside movement to try to absorb this liquidity here and here, you know, because these are equal highs. Juicy liquidity, and you can see once we got to that level, we did have the spike up, which was the beginning of the end for us. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one of two things happen. One is a very sharp increase to take out the stop losses associated with this high here. Or, you know, if prices really run out of juice, then we would see it at least come back down to the EQ line, and then from there, you know, it really just depends on what it wants to do. But yeah, no, it's very disappointing. What can I say? I'm actually hoping it comes up here. I hope those guys get it. They deserve it, you know. If I got it, I want them to get it too. But I will set an alert for this vertical line, because as I said earlier, if we are looking at the way momentum was forming its waves, this would be an area where there could be a potential change in momentum that I would want to look at. That's a shame. I hate to see it. I'll leave the recording running just so we can see how things play out. And one more thing I'll point out before I go is that we were in fact betting against the 200 period EMA. So despite the you know, the proof that we've seen time and time again price bouncing off the EMA. Here we were, just, you know, just waiting for that, that break. Yeah, because it doesn't break through the 200 period EMA very often. It's a fake break. And again, you know, that wouldn't have necessarily been a problem if our expectation wasn't for price to get to this level here. So if we were happy, you know, with the take profit around the 200 period EMA, we would have been just fine. But us greedy dogs, you know, we wanted it all, and you know, we got nothing. So we got less than nothing. Yeah, so don't bet against the 200 period EMA. Even though we were at the top of the range, we plotted out a little further. Let's see where it wants to go. Somewhere like here. That'll be really interesting. If we see price at the top of the range that it's been at for like a week or so, also coming up to the 200 period EMA.